Tommy Vitor of Pod Save America hosted a debate between Mehdi Hasan and Jeremy Ben-Ami, who is the founder of the liberal Zionist group J Street, which seems to kind of be the go-to group by which like almost every Democrat, save the insane Zionists like John Fetterman, get their talking points for. And unfortunately, that includes like Bernie, and I think it seems like AOC is also listening to them a bit from some of her statements.
The offensive and defensive weapons, particularly.
That fissure is coming from J Street, and our argument here is that not cutting off defensive funding, aka the Iron Dome, doesn't mean that the Iron Dome goes away immediately. Israel can fund their own Iron Dome if they want to, but what's more powerful than that is the United States being the bully that stands behind Israel as it commits genocide. We provide Israel with diplomatic cover at places like the United Nations, which is collapsing at this point, that like diplomatic cover, because we're standing alone with this horrific government in Israel. As even France and Canada recognize the Palestinian state, and Keir Starmer is dancing around potentially doing so in the UK. So what's important about, I think, being principled on both offensive and defensive weapons for Israel is that if the United States removes its diplomatic cover and also its funding for things like the Iron Dome, it would force Israel to have to actually diplomatically engage with their neighbors. And they would not be able to be so belligerent without the big bully behind them. And this has been a sea change in Democratic politics, too, where the Gallup poll that seems to have actually wakened some Democrats up 2 years into this genocide, showing that only 8% of Democratic voters approve of Israel's actions in Gaza. It's forced this reckoning, and you have liberal Zionists flailing about. So Tommy asked this question to Mehdi. Basically, he had a friend who was a liberal Zionist who's saying he no longer feels at home in the Democratic Party. We all know people like this. And my answer would be like, all right, don't vote for Democrats. I know that's kind of, we don't need you in the party. Then we can bring in new folks into the coalition, lower propensity voters like the folks that Zoran energize, more working class people who don't see value in either party. Will be the party of honesty and truth, and you can go over to the genocide party. Yeah, that's fine.
Two options. If you want to support the ethno state and that's a principle that you're unwilling to get rid of, then go be a Republican. On the other hand, you can join the growing number of people who are saying, oh, I used to support Israel, even like a two-state solution. Israel's actions have made that untenable. I'm going to join the reality-based community,
right,
and change my mind on insisting that the nominally left party in the United States supports the ethno-state too.
It is also better politics, because there is a consultant class that's trying to convince you that we should only be focusing on 0.5% of the electorate, largely suburban, affluent Republicans, who they think that they can appeal to by throwing trans kids under the bus or supporting a genocide in Gaza. And that is not the way to win elections. It's the way to force a constituency that a professional class or wealthier people would want. We see what Zoran did. We saw what even Obama did in 2008. How you win in landslides is mobilizing non-traditional voters. And this issue of Israel-Palestine is motivating. There's no doubt about it. So with that long prelude, here's Tommy's question to Mehdi Hasan, and his answer was just like perfect.
Sentiment I'm taking away from what Jeremy's saying and what I've heard from some people in my life, people I love, politicians I know, activists. I mean, on Pod Save America Monday, I talked about some positions I'd like to see the Democratic Party take. That meant, my list was like not funding the Israeli military, recognize Palestine as a state, don't take money from AIPAC, some other stuff. And I got a message from a friend, a good progressive Democrat who was genuinely hurt. And he said to me, you are making the Democratic Party tent feel smaller to me. He said, there's room in your new Democratic Party for Zoran Mamdani and, sort of anti-Zionist views.
Arabs.
But me, a liberal Zionist, I'm no longer welcome in the Democratic Party as you described it, because I think the U.S. should support Israel. And I guess I'm wondering, what would you say to a liberal Zionist who feels that way, who feels like they're no longer welcome in the kind of party I'm outlining?
So your friend may be a progressive.
Hit the bricks. Oh, no, sorry.
Also, I said Arabs. I meant to say Muslims because in relation to Zoran, just want to make sure that.
Speaking in Israeli parlance.
Yes, exactly.
But he's what's called a PEP, right? He's a progressive except Palestine, because there is this carve out when it comes to liberals and the approach to the Middle East that we want equality, human rights, progressive values, except on this one conflict. And I would say, spare me the self-victimization. I just mentioned earlier to Jeremy, the entire Democratic Party in Congress does not support Palestine. It still supports Israel, even while 8% of Democrats told Gallup this month that they support Israel's actions in Gaza. In Congress, it's about 88% of Democrats. So the actual Democratic Party, the organized party, the leadership, the establishment, the presidential candidates, the senators, the donors, or organizers, the DNC, they are all hardcore still pro-Israel. They are not pro-Palestine. The idea that your friend would say this is a party that welcomes Zoran Mamdani, are you kidding me? Zoran Mamdani has still not been endorsed by Chuck Schumer, has still not been endorsed by Hakeem Jeffries, had Islamophobic abuse thrown at him by Kirsten Gillibrand. Give me a break. If anything, it's the other way around. You have a pro-Palestine candidate, a Muslim immigrant, as the Democratic mayoral nominee, and the party can't even get behind him. Why? Not because of his freeze the rent policies, but because of his Palestine position. So I would say that this kind of wanting to be the victim is great, but it's not true at all. And Israel behaves in the same way. Oh, we're oppressed by everyone. No, you're a nuclear power in the Middle East that just bombed 4 of your neighbors and has kept millions of people under apartheid and occupation for decades and thumbs its nose at international law, the Geneva Conventions, the ICC and the ICJ. So this whole self-victimization stuff, it's all a distraction from the fact that babies are being starved to death in Gaza right now. And if that's not what we're talking about, then sorry, forgive me if I don't accept your progressive credentials.
Well, I just think that it's just too simplistic, Mehdi, and I really respect you, but, you are just simply making this into a black and white issue and not hearing.
Genocide is a black and white issue, Jeremy. Forgive me.
Right, but if you make this into you either are pro-Israel or you are pro-Palestine, we are condemning these people to forever war, and we're condemning people to have more generations of genocide and famine and bloodshed and horror because you have to pick a winner and you have to pick one side. And I think where I fall, I believe it is where the majority of the Democratic Party fall, where I know Tommy's friend, the liberal Zionist probably falls, is we are looking for a win-win out of this. We're looking for a way in which the Jewish people can feel that.
So we had cut it off, or I'd seen the clip on social media that didn't include this answer, and I wanted to keep it running because I was curious. What he's still saying is an endorsement of the apartheid. That's basically exactly what the answer is that there has to be a winner, and that we're condemning people to perpetual war because what is implicit in his answer is that Palestinians and Israelis cannot coexist, and we cannot end the apartheid. They have to be separated, and we have to maintain Israel as a Jewish state by whatever means necessary, which is where we got in the first place.
And look, even in the situation where you say, okay, there needs to be an intervening stage where there is some sort of two-state demilitarized situation before we can harmonize these two countries where one has committed genocide on the other. Sorry, I'm distracted by the siren.
The sirens. Yeah. You want to keep going and then they'll come back to you?
Yeah, let's let him keep going, then I'll probably remember what I was trying to say.
Is we are looking for a win-win out of this. We're looking for a way in which the Jewish people can feel that they do, in fact, have a state, that they have a right to have a national home in, and that the Palestinian people, too.
Where are the borders at this?
Yeah.
Because again, you look at what's happening in just the West Bank, where draw the borders.
Right. Because
yes, what I was going to say was this. Even in this situation where it's okay, look, one state where everyone's voting in the same elections, not going to happen by 2030 or whatever. So we need to do some sort of, Ro Khanna and folks are leading towards recognizing Palestinian state. Okay. The problem is not going to be that the problem is going to be Israel and Israelis, particularly settlers, and how you get them to not start killing people again, as they're doing right now, just massacring people, lynching people left and right. They need to take an L. that is going to be, that is actually the situation. The world should be looking at them like Israel has trained the world to look at Hamas. How do we deal with that threat of violence? Because that is the threat of violence. And even Sam Harris years ago said that the settlers should be dragged out by their beards. Now, if a Muslim said that, Sam Harris would like dial 911.
Yeah.
But everyone knows who the problem is, right? And it is these fanatics that, and Jeremy Ben-Ami can, first of all, quote unquote, his grandparents were one of the founding members of Israel. His father, a member of the Irgun. So like, I don't know why we're supposed to credit these people. Oh, by the way, he was a domestic policy guy for Bill Clinton. I'm not sure why I'm supposed to respect this guy's opinion. Or not supposed to. I don't know why anybody should credit this with it being anything other than fucking yesterday's news, and turn the page on it.
Yeah. I mean, I am kind of curious.
Can have the same exact state and freedom and rights. And I know
No,
you
chance in
can't.
hell. Okay, sorry. Let's let him go a little bit further.
Yeah.
Anybody think that the Israel is going to allow that? How are you going to force them to do that?
Yeah.
Again, we are going to need to send the Marines if we want that.
We're going to need to give mass brain transplants. That's where the chips that Elon Musk is coming into, or the brain chips are going to come.
And actually, that's why I was kind of upset about Bernie saying like we can't be spending taxpayer money. No, we're going to need to spend money repairing what we've allowed to be broken over there. There's no cheap way out of Gaza.
too can have the same exact state and freedom and rights. And I know we are a long way from that, and I know what the problems are, and I've articulated them, what the problems are with American foreign policy, with Democratic policy, Republican policy. The United States has been a failed mediator, and those who have carried out, with all due respect to Tommy, those who have carried out the foreign policy of the United States over the course of the last 30 and 40 years on this conflict have failed miserably.
All right. All due respect to Tommy on this front. What are you talking about?
Well, let's see what he's talking about. I gotta see.
Oh,
more.
really? Okay.
I want to see what he says.
But I mean, also, like, I don't know. Then what are your critiques of Obama on this? Like, he has none. Yeah, look behind him. All due respect to Tommy, that's basically what he's saying, is that the Obama administration messed this up. In what way? Do you want to say that it was because they diplomatically engaged with Iran? Because then we will have major disagreements.
That's what I'm curious about. Is he going to say like they were too? Like, I'm genuinely. I don't know.
It doesn't change the fact that there isn't only one good guy in this, and everything that is evil is on one side, and everything that is good is on the other side. Both sides have a history of trauma. Both sides have committed crime. Both sides have been victims. Both sides have legitimate rights and needs and claims.
Good people
and the
on
only
both
way
sides.
forward is not to put this as 8% are pro-Israel and 92% are pro-Palestine, so we win. No, and 100% should be pro-Israel and pro-Palestine, and we should be looking for a way that both peoples can have a future.
So he doesn't even get into what his criticisms of the previous administrations are.
Yeah, and I can I hear Mehdi's actually. I'm sorry, Mehdi's response is really quick.
Jeremy, with respect, a couple of things. One is, it wasn't about winning. It was about pointing out there's a huge democratic dysfunction in this country where the party doesn't represent its voters. Put that to one side for a moment. I don't want to get into a long history argument about both sides and who's been oppressed more or less. Save that for another day. My position is one side is occupier, one side is occupied. They're not equal sides.
Okay, yes. All right,
But
we're good there. I mean, I people can watch the full thing. I encourage people to, but yeah.
The people taking over a country and the people getting their country taken over, they've both done bad things. So, who knows? Who can really say what it is? This doesn't work. Israel, as a settler colonial nation, as a Jewish supremacist nation, as a Jewish exclusive, as being a Jewish nation, as they say, because it used to be they're democratic. But now and why don't we support our democracy in the Middle East? Now it's why don't you support the Jewish nation in the Middle East? And that's the exact same thing that, again, Tony Judd wrote in the New York Review of Books, Israel the Alternative, that this is backwards.
Yeah.
This is retro. And nobody can actually support it in modern terms of, it's not a democracy because, they're and it's not distinct from the killing we're seeing in Gaza because, like I said, they don't want to be clear about where they want to put their borders because the settlers want, as Bill Clinton called it, Judea and Samaria, what everyone else knows that's not a Zionist knows as the West Bank. They want that. They're not going to be satisfied not getting that. Are you kidding me?
I am exhausted by liberal Zionists and the amount of hand-holding that these little babies need.
Yep.
If you're in this country and you're a liberal Zionist, you are in a place where you're basically in safety. I mean, anti-Semitism is on the rise. There's no doubt about it. Hate crimes all across the country. But this country's policy and our government's policy is not anti-Semitism. And in fact, it is using the power of the state to crack down on political protests in the name of anti-Semitism, which I do think inflames anti-Semitism. But it is not the power of the state that is suppressing your rights in the same way that it is for black and brown people in this country, and particularly right now, folks that are either, immigrants, but also political dissidents standing up against the genocide in Gaza. And that Islamophobia is never talked about at all. And so we have to continuously center these liberal Zionists, and we hold their hand. We push the boulder all the way up the mountain like Sisyphus, and we go, see, Hamas funded by Netanyahu. See, this is so horrible. They're starving people. They're bombing every school, every hospital. See how? And then we'll get in. It's awful. And then when you get to a point of critical mass, and you talk about how it's untenable to maintain an ethno-state based on everybody's individual, whether in the case of Israel, your religion. Maintaining it by domination without genocide being the inevitable conclusion. The boulder rolls all the way back down the hill, and we have to start again with these people. Go away then. We don't. If you can't understand basic humanity and multiculturalism, why are you a democratic voter? One democratic state is it's supposed to be an American value of having a melting pot and having all different kinds of people living amongst one another, which engenders understanding. That's what I was taught was an American value. I guess not for liberal Zionists. Maybe here they'll be okay with it. But in Israel, we need to basically have a ethnically pure state, and everything I say works backward from it. And if you don't acknowledge that, you're hurting my precious feelings. I'm a little bit less concerned with people's feelings and a little bit more concerned with starving babies. It's exhausting.
This all this tent stuff, this big tent stuff we've been hearing this has been what's been animating it. And when I think of tents and when I think of Israel, I think of Israel dropping bombs on tents. I don't think of, let's make sure that the person who still wants to give Iron Dome funding feels comfortable. Actually, this is what Mehdi says.
I know. I'm just the narcissism, even of Tommy recounting what this person said, it's exhausting.
Well, that's
Western white people who are so cozy, privileging their feelings over people's lives. No wonder the Muslim, the Arab world and Middle East hates us. No wonder they hate us.
I mean, that's really the ridiculousness thing here. And there was a Jon Stewart clip that people were taking issue with too, which is that it is true that this is leading to a rise in anti-Semitism. That's the Zionism doing it.
Yeah.
That's the same reason Avi Shleim's family had to leave Baghdad, is because of Zionism leading to this sort of hatred and bigotry. And then, you know what? It uses it toward its own end, toward a nationalism. But that, you know what? The hate that it's engendering cynically on anti-Semitic lines is not leading to a genocide.
Right.
There is a genocide happening right now. There's an extermination, an active extermination campaign, not a war, an extermination campaign that has been foretold by people who have criticized Israel for decades. For decades. Tony Judd, I read his entire piece on Left Reckoning, Israel the Alternative in 2003. He said this is going to go a couple of ways. And one of those ways he predicted and kind of was worried was going to happen was exterminationist ethno-state. That's what we have now. And we have to act like, Itamar Ben-Gvir and all these people, they're some sort of marginal force. No, they are the actual force. The marginal force is the liberal Zionists, like Jeremy Ben-Ami here, who throw sand in everyone's eyes so they don't realize what they're seeing. And there's nothing to respect about J Street. J Street cannot be part of the tent. it has to be kicked out as AIPAC was. And we cannot hear our leaders reciting the same talking points that this guy does.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.